Below our feet is another world, a world of secret passages, sealed chambers, and buried hallways that stretch further than most of us can imagine. Since humans began telling stories, they have spoken of secret tunnels beneath the earth, places hollowed out in the dark, used for survival, ritual, or power. Some of these stories have been dismissed as myths. Others were buried in archives, and some remain forbidden even today. But time and again, new discoveries constantly force us to ask, what is really down there? Archaeology has given us glimpses. In Turkey, the underground city of Derinkuyu was carved deep into the rock, a place where more than 20,000 people could live, hide, and thrive. In the Americas, indigenous legends tell of hidden people who survived great floods by retreating into vast subterranean worlds. And in Russia, Mount Yamantau looms over the Ural Range, its slopes sealed and guarded, concealing what many believe is one of the largest underground complexes ever built. 3 very different places, 3 very different stories, all pointing to one truth. Humanity has always used the earth to conceal secrets. This is not a coincidence. Across cultures and spanning centuries, the earth seems to hold a whole other layer of history just beneath the surface. Some tunnels were carved for refuge, others for ceremony, others for reasons we may never understand. And the strangest part is, every new discovery raises more questions than answers. How could ancient builders carve entire cities with only rudimentary tools? Why do so many myths describe the same thing? Hidden, sealed worlds waiting below. And why are governments today still building vast subterranean networks, then denying their true purpose? This isn't just a story about archaeology, myth, or conspiracy. It is the collision of all of them. From the labyrinths of Cappadocia to the ceremonial tunnels of Peru, from the Tibetan legend of Agartha to the secret bunkers of the Cold War, the deeper you dig, the more the pieces begin to connect. And that's where our journey begins. We will follow these tunnels through ancient ruins, global legends, and modern secrets to see what picture emerges when we stop treating them as isolated mysteries. Because the truth is, the subterranean world has never been fully explored. And the most shocking part is that some of these tunnels remain sealed to this day. The first definitive proof of a hidden underground world came to light in Turkey in the 1960s. A man renovating his house in Cappadocia knocked down a wall and found not bedrock, but a tunnel. That tunnel kept going, splitting into passages that led deeper and deeper into the earth. What he had uncovered was the entrance to a city that had been sealed for centuries, its existence forgotten today. We know this place as Derinkuyu. It plunges nearly 85 meters, 280 feet below the ground, and spreads across 18 known levels. Archaeologists estimate it could house up to 20,000 people at one time, with space for families, livestock, food stores, and water. Functionally, it was the size of a small town, but completely hidden underground. Its structure is incredible in its design. Narrow corridors open up into large public halls. Round stone doors, weighing up to half a ton, were built to seal off sections with a single push. Ventilation shafts pierce through multiple layers to circulate fresh air, some as deep as modern skyscrapers flipped upside down. Water wells tap into underground sources. Storage rooms, kitchens, wine presses, and chapels were carved out of the volcanic tough rock. Derinkuyu was not a makeshift shelter hastily dug. It was a fully functional city, designed for sustained life beneath the surface. The mystery lies in how it was created. Carving a single room in volcanic rock is straightforward, but excavating millions of cubic feet of stone, reinforcing chambers, cutting ventilation shafts that still work today, and doing it all with hand tools is something else entirely. Mainstream archaeology suggests it was first dug during the first millennium BC and then expanded over time. Yet, the precision of the ventilation system and the sheer volume of rock that was removed remain difficult to reconcile with the tools historians suggest were available. Modern engineers have conceded that cutting and maintaining such a structure would be a challenge even today. So why build it in the first place? The accepted explanation is that it served as a refuge. Cappadocia was invaded multiple times throughout history. Persians, Byzantines, Mongols, and the ability to vanish underground would have been a powerful defense. From this perspective, Derinkuyu was a massive bunker, a place where tens of thousands could wait out the danger on the surface. But that explanation does not answer why it was built so deep and so intricate. Why build chapels and wine presses if the goal was short-term refuge? Why design a labyrinth with stone doors and defensive choke points if not for something more intentional? Some researchers suggest the city was also a sanctuary, a place to preserve culture and belief as much as to preserve life. The religious spaces carved into the stone point to spiritual significance, not just practicality. Others argue that Derinkuyu may have been expanded layer by layer, across generations. Each group inherited a system whose original purpose had faded into memory. The fact that no clear records describe it only adds to the sense that it was intentionally concealed, not merely forgotten, and secrecy runs throughout the story. Derinkuyu remained undiscovered until the 1960s, not because it collapsed or eroded, but because its entrance was sealed. For centuries, no one on the surface knew that an entire city lay directly beneath their homes. Even now, portions of it are closed. Some passages are blocked. Archaeologists suspect that deeper levels exist, but they have never been mapped. Local rumors suggest the tunnels run for miles, linking Derinkuyu to other subterranean sites throughout Cappadocia. If that is true, what has been revealed so far is only a small fraction of the system. Cappadocia is riddled with similar complexes. Kaymakli, another underground city not far from Derinkuyu, is vast in its own right. Dozens of others have been identified, some small, some sprawling. Many are only a few kilometers apart. The possibility that they are connected by long hidden tunnels cannot be dismissed. Derinkuyu may be the largest and most famous, but it is not unique. It is a doorway into a much larger network, a subterranean world beneath central Turkey that is still only partially understood. What is clear is that Derinkuyu cannot be explained away as a small curiosity or a defensive shelter assembled with crude tools. Its scale, precision, and secrecy suggest an extraordinary project, one that challenges what we thought ancient builders were capable of, and it forces a larger question. If there is this much beneath one Turkish town, how much more is still hidden beneath the volcanic plains of Cappadocia? While the tunnels of Cappadocia sheltered life, in Mexico, the tunnels beneath the ancient pyramids were sealed with something even stranger. Beneath the ruins of Teotihuacan, an ancient city once home to more than 100,000 people, archaeologists have uncovered subterranean passages that were deliberately hidden for nearly 2,000 years. The most famous discovery came in 2003, when heavy rains created a sinkhole near the base of the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Local archaeologist Sergio Gomez lowered himself into the opening and found an entrance that had been intentionally blocked with massive boulders. Once inside, he realized he had entered a tunnel that ran directly beneath the pyramid. The passage stretched for nearly 100 meters, 330 feet, ending in a series of sealed chambers deep beneath the heart of the temple. What Gomez and his team eventually uncovered was not just an architectural feat, but a mystery that still plagues experts today. Inside the tunnel were ritual offerings, including jade, seashells, and thousands of objects ranging from fine ceramics to strange figurines. But the most disturbing discovery was the presence of liquid mercury poured into the chambers, glistening under torchlight like a silver river. Why would a pre-Columbian culture transport and seal mercury in underground tunnels. The substance is rare and highly toxic, and its mining would have required considerable effort. For decades, no one believed mercury had ever been used in the Americas until it was confirmed in these chambers. Some researchers suggest the mercury symbolized an underworld river or lake, a mirror-like surface that represented the boundary between life and death. Others see it as part of a cosmic landscape recreated underground, a sacred microcosm where transformative rites took place. The tunnel's construction only adds to the enigma. Its walls were carefully lined with pyrite and hematite powder. These materials would have sparkled under torchlight like a starry sky. Traces of spheres coated in reflective minerals were also found, possibly used to represent planets or stars. This was not a hidden refuge like Derinkuyu. It was a carefully constructed underworld, a place where priests, rulers, or initiates descended into the darkness to reenact creation myths and commune with the gods. The secrecy is staggering. The tunnel was intentionally sealed in antiquity. Massive boulders blocked the entrance, and access was cut off for nearly 2 millennia. Whoever closed it wanted to ensure no one could re-enter. Yet, the effort to build it in the first place must have been immense. Chiseling through volcanic rock, lining the walls with glittering minerals, transporting mercury from distant sources. These were not random acts. They were intentional, ritualistic, and concealed. What does this say about Teotihuacan itself? The city was one of the largest and most influential in the Americas. Yet strangely, the identity of its rulers remains a mystery. No clear royal tombs or royal inscriptions have ever been found. Unlike the Maya, the people of Teotihuacan left no records naming kings or dynasties. Some scholars believe power was shared among elites or a council of priests. Others suspect that the secrecy extended to erasing individual rulers from history. The tunnels beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent may hold the key, a place where rulers were interred or deified, hidden from view along with the city's greatest secrets. Yet, despite years of exploration, the tunnels have not yielded definitive answers. No bodies were found, only offerings and symbolic artifacts. This raises an unsettling possibility. Were the tunnels ever intended to hold human remains? Or were they built as a symbolic underworld, sealed forever once the rites were complete, leaving only the traces of mercury and offerings to hint at what transpired? The discovery also challenges mainstream assumptions about the capabilities of ancient American civilizations. For years, textbooks claimed that liquid mercury was unknown in the Americas. Yet, here it is, sealed in a tunnel beneath a pyramid. Also, it was assumed that only Egyptians and Mesopotamians designed complex, symbolic underworlds. Teotihuacan proves otherwise. And for years, archaeologists believed the rulers of Teotihuacan had simply faded into oblivion. Yet, the sealed chambers suggest their power was intentionally hidden. What makes this even more compelling is that Teotihuacan is not the only site in Mexico with subterranean mysteries. In 2018, radar scans beneath the Pyramid of the Moon revealed another possible tunnel system that is yet to be explored. Earlier excavations in the 1970s uncovered a tunnel beneath the Pyramid of the Sun. Each time the story is the same: sealed passages, hidden offerings, and deliberate efforts to conceal whatever purpose they once served. Taken together, these discoveries paint a picture of a city obsessed with the underworld. The pyramids of Teotihuacan were not just monuments reaching for the sky, they were gateways plunging into the earth. On the surface, the Avenue of the Dead stretched for miles, lined with towering structures. Below ground, secret tunnels recreated rivers, stars, and cosmic realms that the common citizens never saw. This duality, the public spectacle above, the hidden ritual below, suggests a culture where secrecy was as important as power itself. And while Derinkuyu forces us to question how the ancients built vast underground cities for survival, Teotihuacan forces us to ask why they built them for secrecy. The river of mercury, the glittering pyrite walls, the sealed chambers. These were not defensive tools. They were tools of mystery meant to conceal truths we still do not understand. And disturbing as this is, the tunnels of Teotihuacan are not alone. Across the world, other civilizations carved out secret passages for reasons that remain equally vague, some for ritual, some for survival, and some for purposes we can only speculate. What ties them together is the effort to conceal them, to seal them, and to keep them buried. And that could not be more evident in the tunnels we explore next. If Derinkuyu showed us tunnels built for survival, and Teotihuacan revealed tunnels designed for secrecy, the site of Chavin in the Peruvian Andes shows us something even stranger. Tunnels built to transform the human mind. Chavin was a ritual center that thrived between roughly 1200 and 500 BC, centuries before the rise of the Inca. At first glance, its stone temples resemble many other ancient sites in the Andes. But beneath the surface is a network of galleries and passageways, unlike anything else in the region. These tunnels were not built to house thousands, nor to hide rulers in secret chambers. They were designed to manipulate sound, light, and human perception. Archaeologists studying the site have described the galleries as reverberation chambers and disorienting labyrinths. Some passages are so narrow a person can barely squeeze through, others unexpectedly open into broader spaces where sound echoes and is distorted. Inside, stone channels directed rushing water beneath the floors, creating a constant, low, roaring rumble. In total darkness, with the echoes surrounding you and the water pounding below, the space feels alive. Experiments at Chavin have revealed just how intentional this design was. Researchers took replica conch shell trumpets into the tunnels, instruments known to have been used at the site, and blew them in the confined spaces. The results were overwhelming. The blasts created animal-like roars that reverberated through the stone, amplifying into sounds more terrifying than any human voice. Imagine being a pilgrim descending into the labyrinth, plunged into complete darkness. The air vibrates with roars as if gods or beasts are speaking through the walls. At the center of Chavin is the Lanzon, a massive granite monolith carved with the snarling image of a fanged deity. It stands deep inside the galleries, accessible only through the winding tunnels. Reaching it would have been the climax of an initiation rite, a sensory trial designed to break down the boundaries of normal perception. The light, sound, and architecture combine to disorient and overwhelm, preparing the visitor for a direct encounter with the divine. The use of these tunnels is unique in the ancient world. They were not defensive, nor practical, nor even entirely symbolic. They were carefully engineered tools designed to alter consciousness by manipulating echoes, controlling access to light, and channeling the roar of rushing water. The builders of Chavin created a technology of experience. It was architecture built not to shelter, but to transform. The site's secrecy adds to the mystery. Much of Chavin's symbolism revolved around oppositional pairs, light and dark, above and below, order and chaos. Normal life took place in the plazas on the surface, but the real transformation was reserved for the hidden spaces beneath. Where only the initiates and priests could enter the underworld was a threshold between the human and the divine. The implication is profound. If the tunnels of Derinkuyu show the ingenuity of survival, and Teotihuacan shows the power of hidden ritual, Chavin suggests something more elusive: the intentional use of subterranean architecture to alter human perception. These were not metaphors carved in stone. They were sensory machines designed to induce awe, terror, and revelation. And it forces us to ask, if the tunnels here were used to alter consciousness, could the myths of underworlds, from hidden kingdoms to sacred netherworlds, be more than metaphors? Could they be cultural memories of places intentionally engineered to transform how people experience reality? The tunnels of Chavin de Huantar show how the subterranean world can be engineered to change perception. They challenge the notion that ancient cultures saw underground constructions merely as simple refuges. For the Chavin builders, the space beneath the surface was not a place to hide, but a ritual laboratory, a sacred space where darkness and sound were used to reshape the soul. And as we broaden our search, we find that the obsession with the underworld is not limited to lost ancient civilizations. It extends to the secrets of the modern age, places built beneath the earth to guard things that governments don't want anyone to know. From the carved caverns of cultists to the reinforced concrete complexes, the thread of secrecy continues. And the story of historical tunnels cannot be complete without considering what is being built and protected right now. We have followed tunnels built for survival, for ritual, and for the transformation of perception. But as we transition from the ruins of lost civilizations to the modern world, the obsession with the subterranean does not diminish, it simply changes form. The myths of an underworld are not just in the rubble. They exist in global legends, most notably that of Agartha, a vast, secret subterranean kingdom, supposedly linked by a network of tunnels stretching across continents. In Tibetan Buddhist texts, Agartha is described as a sacred refuge. In Europe, its myth was morphed, becoming tales of an advanced civilization living in the heart of the earth, preserving ancient knowledge. Whether you view it as a metaphor or a forgotten truth, the common thread is clear. Our world is overlaid by another, sealed and waiting. And these stories find a strange reflection in the underground projects undertaken in modern times. In the 20th century, the Cold War brought the largest era of subterranean construction in history. Unlike the stone cities of Derinkuyu, these were concrete and steel complexes, designed to withstand nuclear weapons and hide the decision-making mechanisms of government. In the U.S., facilities like the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and Raven Rock were carved deep into the mountainsides. They are hardened bunkers, command centers built to ensure the survival of government after a catastrophic attack. In Russia, similar or even larger projects were undertaken. Most notable is Mount Yamantau in the Urals. This peak sits in the closed region of Beloretsk. It is heavily guarded by thousands of troops, and Russian officials have offered denials or conflicting explanations for its purpose, from a food storage depot to a repository for national treasure. Yet, Western analysts believe Yamantau conceals one of the largest underground complexes in the world, a modern subterranean city that could house tens of thousands of people, designed to survive a prolonged nuclear war. It was built in the 1990s, after the Cold War officially ended, raising questions about its true purpose. If tensions had subsided, why build such a massive and costly complex to counter an attack that didn't happen? The secrecy around Yamantau reminds us of the massive stone doors of Derinkuyu and the sealed chambers of Teotihuacan. The underworld remains the ultimate hiding place. But today, the secrets kept are not ancient rituals or livestock, but power, nuclear strategy, and government continuity. This creates a startling historical loop. In the ancient world, subterranean cities were built to weather the chaos on the surface, invasions, destruction. Today, underground complexes are built to weather modern chaos, nuclear war, economic collapse, global crisis. Both were designed to preserve a seed of civilization. The only difference is, the ancient builders of Derinkuyu eventually left, and allowed their city to be discovered by a common man. The modern builders of Yamantau are still heavily guarding the entrance, never admitting the full scale of what lies beneath. This brings us back to the core question. What has driven humanity's relentless quest for secrecy in the earth? It can't just be about defense. If so, why the mercury rivers of Teotihuacan? Or the reverberation chambers designed to melt mines at Chavin? The answer probably lies at the intersection of all of them. Subterranean passages are an eternal symbol of our connection to the unknown. They are a reminder that the world we see is only one layer. Beneath it is a space that can be a refuge, a sacred place, or a laboratory of power. Every underground discovery, from a man breaking down a wall in Turkey to an archaeologist seeing mercury in Mexico, forces us to expand our view of what humanity has done and what we are still hiding. They challenge what we think about ancient technology, ritual purpose, and the true scale of subterranean history. This is not a story that can be neatly packaged in a textbook. It is the story of a truth that is still being written. From the stone labyrinths of Cappadocia, where 20,000 people vanished, to a blockaded mountain in Russia hiding a nuclear city, one image has emerged. The subterranean world is the archive of humanity's greatest secrets. And whether it is an ancient city that was sealed or a military complex that is guarded, the message remains clear. The doors are never truly closed. Only a few have dared to look deep beneath, and they always return with stories, questions, and a new understanding that we are living on a veil. In the human imagination, what lies deep beneath the earth has always held a special fascination. A labyrinth of darkness, rock, and sealed secrets. But some traditions go further, describing not just chambers or passages, but entire hidden kingdoms sealed just below the Earth's surface. In the early 20th century, the Polish explorer Ferdynand Ossendowski made a journey through Central Asia. That journey was later chronicled in his work, Beasts, Men, and Gods. In it, he recounts a story told to him by Mongolian lamas, the tale of a vast subterranean realm known as Agartha. According to the lamas, Agartha was a hidden world, accessible through secret tunnels scattered across remote deserts and mountain ranges. It was ruled by a figure dubbed the King of the World, one whose influence reached the surface, silently shaping the events of humanity through unseen means. This kingdom was supposedly illuminated by its own energy source, maintained by technologies and wisdom preserved from ages long past. The descriptions of Agartha were striking: a hidden realm, eternal light, and secret entrances scattered across the landscape. The idea of an underground civilization with knowledge far exceeding our own sounds fantastic, but it dovetails strangely with numerous other traditions. Tibetan Buddhism also speaks of Shambhala, a hidden realm of wisdom, located outside the normal geographic scope. Some accounts place it in high mountain peaks, accessible only to those who know the way others describe it as a place shielded from the eyes of ordinary people, a kingdom of kings and sages watching from afar. The overlap between Shambhala and Agartha is impossible to ignore. Both describe secret entryways, hidden kingdoms, and ancient rulers remaining out of reach. These ideas were later adopted by fringe theorists who argued that the Earth might not be solid, but hollow. According to the hollow Earth theory, vast spaces within the planet could exist, connecting to the surface through tunnels at the poles or other secret gateways. Inside these massive caverns, entire civilizations could be thriving, either survivors of catastrophes that wiped out previous eras of humanity, or beings completely alien to us. In the 19th and 20th centuries, this concept became popular in esoteric circles, with believers pointing to myths like Agartha and Shambhala as proof that cultures worldwide were preserving the same memory of hidden realms. What makes this theory more compelling is its global scope. Stories of people living beneath the earth are not limited to Central Asia. Across South America, Europe, and North America, similar legends surface: hidden entrances, glowing inner lands, powerful guardians beneath the ground. This consistency across cultures separated by oceans and centuries suggests these stories are rooted in something deeper than mere fantasy. Mainstream archaeology roundly dismisses hollow earth theories, and perhaps rightly so. But even if we discard the idea of entire kingdoms inside the planet, the persistence of these stories is significant. They point to a global fascination with the subterranean world, not as a void of rock and shadow, but as a place of hidden power. And they pose a difficult question. Are these myths simply symbolic? Or are they distorted accounts of real encounters with long-forgotten underground structures, places, and events? One thing is clear. The stories of Agartha and Shambhala are not single anomalies. They sit within a much wider network of traditions describing secret worlds beneath the surface. And these are not only Asian stories. Some of the most vivid accounts of subterranean realms come from the Americas. Across these continents, traditions tell of hidden worlds beneath the surface. Some describe ancestors who survived catastrophe by hiding in the earth, while others speak of beings that still reside beneath us, unseen. These stories are not vague or marginal. They are central to the identity of the cultures that carry them. For the Hopi people of the American Southwest, one of the most important doctrines is the emergence. According to their oral history, humanity once lived in a subterranean world, a dark realm beneath the earth guided by spiritual entities. The Hopi tribes climbed up through a narrow opening until they reached the surface, entering the present world. That moment of transition from darkness to light is still remembered in rituals. Inside the Hopi's underground ceremonial chambers, a small hole called the Sipapu symbolizes the portal through which their ancestors emerged. It is a reminder that the people of today are the descendants of those who once lived below. The details are truly striking. These stories describe survival in hidden places during periods of catastrophic upheaval. Some versions say that previous worlds were destroyed by flood, fire, or ice, and only a remnant survived by residing underground until it was safe to return. The idea of multiple worlds, each destroyed in turn, reflects a cycle of catastrophe and renewal, a theme found in many cultures beyond North America. The Navajo also tell of past worlds, each ending in disaster. They say humans migrated from one world to the next until they reached the current one. The Cherokee relate traditions of hidden people living beneath the surface, sometimes emerging but largely remaining invisible. Even the Mandan, a people of the northern plains, speak of their ancestors climbing out of an underworld through a large opening in the ground. These stories show incredible consistency across vast distances and disparate cultures. People taking refuge underground, surviving destruction, and emerging to rebuild. When juxtaposed with archaeology, they gain sharp focus. The Hopi say their ancestors endured in the earth until it was safe above. In Turkey, Derinkuyu proves that entire communities actually carved subterranean refuges capable of sustaining tens of thousands. Both traditions, one preserved in myth, one carved in stone, reflect the same idea. When disaster strikes, survival may depend on going beneath. It is plausible that these myths preserve distant memories of such refuges. Oral traditions are not perfect records, but they carry patterns. The themes of survival in the dark, being protected by guardians, and eventually returning to the light, align uncannily with what archaeology is now showing us, what humans were capable of. These stories may not describe events literally as we would record them, but they may encode the truth about how earlier peoples survived crises, that wiped out much of the world they knew. There is also the recurring theme of secrecy. Just as Derinkuyu lay hidden until its entrance was breached, many indigenous narratives suggest that the hidden peoples remain below, living apart from the surface world for the Hopi. The underworld is not just history, but an active part of their cosmology, a place that shaped who they are and continues to hold significance today. When viewed globally, these parallels are difficult to dismiss. In Asia, the myths of Agartha and Shambhala describe entire hidden kingdoms sealed beneath the mountains. In the Americas, the Hopi and others remember their ancestors emerging from subterranean realms after catastrophe. Across continents, separated by oceans, the themes remain one. The underworld is a place of refuge, transformation, and hidden power. And while archaeologists interpret these as metaphors or symbolic cycles, the existence of real underground cities and tunnels suggests the line between myth and reality is not as clear as was once believed. The legends of emergence could be cultural memories of real survival strategies, faded and reshaped over millennia. The question is, what else could be hidden? If oral history points to subterranean refuges, and if archaeology confirms their existence in some parts of the world, then it follows that many more may remain undiscovered, carved into rock, hidden or erased from the record. And not all of them are obvious. Some may be vast, sophisticated systems, hidden in plain sight, with entrances that have been forgotten. This brings us to China, where in 1992, a group of farmers decided to drain a pond. For generations, the water had filled a depression in the landscape, and locals assumed it was just a natural feature. But when the water was pumped out, what emerged stunned everyone. Beneath the pond was the entrance to a gigantic cavern carved by hand. And it wasn't the only one. In the following years, over 24 similar chambers were discovered, now collectively known as the Longyu Grottos. Each one is vast, with towering ceilings, sprawling halls, and walls bearing the unmistakable marks of hand tools. Together, they form one of the most incredible subterranean complexes in the world. Yet, there are no historical records, no inscriptions, and no local memory of their construction. It is as if an ancient culture carved an entire underground complex and then erased every trace of its existence. The scale of the Longyu Grottos is staggering. Individual chambers reach heights of nearly 30 meters, with floor space large enough to hold aircraft hangars. The interiors are carefully shaped with flat walls and sharp corners. Every surface displays parallel chisel marks, as if hundreds of workers systemized the rock carving with remarkable precision. In total, the grottos required the removal of an estimated 1 million cubic meters of rock. Even with modern tools, this would be a monumental task. With ancient technology, it is nearly impossible. Yet there they stand, silent, empty, and unexplained. Archaeologists have struggled to date when the grottos were created. The consensus is that they were carved at least 2,000 years ago, possibly during the Qin or early Han dynasties. But there is no mention of them in any records, no account of the massive labor force required, and no explanation for why they were abandoned. The absence of documentation is almost as mysterious as the grottos themselves. In a culture as meticulous about record-keeping as ancient China, how could a project of this massive scale vanish from history? Some theories suggest the caves were quarries carved to extract stone. But if so, why finish the walls with decorative chisel marks, covering every surface in uniform patterns? And why are the chambers completely empty, with no rubble, no artifacts, and no evidence of habitation? Others argue they might have been tombs or ritual sites, but no graves, inscriptions, or offerings have ever been found. The purpose remains a mystery. Part of the enigma is that many of the caves are still partially flooded. The inundated chambers have never been fully drained or explored, leaving vast areas inaccessible. What lies beneath the waterline remains unknown. It is possible that artifacts, carvings, or other evidence remain sealed, hidden under those dark pools. For now, those areas are out of reach, adding another layer of secrecy to a mystery already dense with unanswered questions. The intentional erasure is the most unsettling part. If these were simply quarries or shelters, why is there no trace of them in local memory or historical texts? It seems more plausible that whoever built the Longyu grottos did so with a purpose we cannot yet determine, and then deliberately scrubbed their work from the record. Whether to conceal the grotto's function, to protect sacred knowledge, or simply because the builders vanished, we cannot say. What is clear is that the Longyu grottos should not exist as they do. Yet they do. For investigators, the site is a challenge. The tool marks suggest human effort, but the lack of supporting evidence hints at something more. Did an ancient culture possess knowledge or techniques that are now lost to us? Were these chambers intended as storerooms, ritual sanctuaries, or even disaster refuges? Or was the purpose something so alien to our assumptions that we cannot even recognize it while staring at the evidence? The grottos are a reminder that human history is far from complete. They show that even in one of the world's most carefully documented civilizations, entire projects can be erased. And they pose an uncomfortable question. If a colossal carved complex like Longyu can vanish from history, what else might be missing? How many other sites lie hidden beneath lakes, hills, or farmland, waiting for an accidental discovery? If Longyu shows us how the hand of man can carve immense chambers and erase them from history, then Mammoth Cave in Kentucky shows how nature itself has forged subterranean realms on a scale that dwarfs almost anything we can imagine. To date, over 675 kilometers, 420 miles, of passages have been officially mapped, making Mammoth Cave the largest known cave system in the world. But explorers are certain that number is only a fraction. Current estimates suggest the system could reach over 965 kilometers, 600 miles, perhaps even more. Every year, cavers push deeper, mapping new branches, only to find more corridors stretching into the dark. Imagine an underworld stretching from London to Paris, winding and twisting through rock. That is Mammoth Cave, a labyrinth so vast it is difficult to comprehend. The passages themselves are diverse. Some are wide and smooth, shaped by rivers that flowed through the limestone over millions of years. Others narrow into jagged crawl spaces where the air grows heavy and explorers inch their way forward. There are rooms so large that visitors compare them to underground cathedrals. Standing in such a space, with the ceiling dissolving into the blackness above and the walls echoing every step, it is easy to feel as if you are in another dimension entirely. And the deeper you go, the stranger it gets. Indigenous peoples used parts of the cave thousands of years ago, leaving behind torches, artifacts, and even human remains preserved in the dry air. In the 19th century, miners harvested saltpeter from the chambers to make gunpowder. Visitors soon flocked, drawn by its sheer scale and frightening reputation. Guides told tales of ghostly lights flickering in the distance, or of winds whooshing through sealed passages, as if unseen forces were breathing underground. There were darker stories, too. Visitors wandering off from the group, becoming disoriented in the endless passages, and never being seen again. Some of those stories are documented. One of the most famous involves Floyd Collins, a cave explorer who became trapped in a narrow passage in 1925. The effort to rescue him captivated the nation, with reporters camping at the scene and relaying updates by telegraph. After 2 weeks, Collins died, His body was stuck in the rock, unreachable. His story cemented Mammoth Cave's reputation not just as a wonder, but as a place that could take life without mercy. Even today, cavers describe the system with awe and unease. Some speak of hearing voices carried through the tunnels, distorted by echoes until they seem to come from nowhere. Others recall the disorienting effect of losing all light when a lamp fails, and the darkness is so oppressive that the mind begins to manufacture shapes and sounds. Mammoth is not just a cave. It is an environment designed to strip away every human point of reference. In those moments, people say they feel the cave itself is alive. The depth adds to the fear. While Mammoth doesn't plunge straight down vertically like Verovkina in Georgia, the deepest known cave in the world, over 2,200 meters deep, its endless horizontal sprawl creates a horror all its own. In a straight vertical descent, at least explorers know the direction they must climb to get out. In Mammoth, the danger is in its sheer scale. The corridors branch and twist until the sense of direction collapses. Without careful mapping, one wrong turn can lead to miles of wandering in the dark with no way back. The result is a different kind of depth, not of distance, but of infinity. And despite centuries of exploration, most of the cave remains pristine. Entire sections are closed off, some because of dangerous air pockets, others because they simply have never been surveyed. What lies in those sealed chambers, no one knows. The potential for new species, untouched archaeological sites, or undiscovered grand halls remains very real. Mammoth Cave proves that even in a world mapped from orbit, there are still places on this planet where the unknown stretches for hundreds of miles. That is what makes this system so unsettling. If natural geology can create an underworld of this scale, endless corridors, hidden rooms, toxic air pockets, silently running rivers, then the secret beneath the surface is not just a human invention, it is part of the planet itself. And if naturally created caverns can swallow life and still hold miles of unmapped territory, what might lie within the tunnels intentionally constructed by human power, where secrecy is the very purpose? The underground network is not just a relic of the past. In northern China, one of the largest subterranean systems on Earth was built not thousands of years ago, but in the last few decades. It is known as the Underground Great Wall. Built by the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force, this labyrinth is thought to stretch over 3,000 miles, longer than the entire width of the continental United States. It is a modern testament that, far from being legend, the construction of subterranean kingdoms is an engineering possibility, a geopolitical truth being enacted right now, out of sight, concealed from the eyes of the world. Next, we will embark on a journey into the dark, where the world's most powerful governments have burrowed deep into the rock to construct secret fortresses, subterranean cities, and doomsday redoubts. And our first stop is in China, which birthed one of the most incredible and enigmatic engineering feats of the modern age, the underground Great Wall. Its purpose is undeniable. It was designed to house, move, and protect China's nuclear arsenal, but almost all other information about it is classified. We can only piece together fragments from satellite imagery, rare leaked photos, and investigative reports. Those fragments paint a blurry picture: entrances disguised as hillsides, cleverly concealed blast doors, and long reinforced corridors where missile transporters can move undetected. Analysts believe this network of tunnels connects storage depots, underground launch silos, and command centers situated deep below the surface. Some reports even suggest that entire cities have been built within the network to house military personnel. The engineering effort behind it is colossal. To bore thousands of miles of tunnels through hard rock required massive boring machines, decades of labor, and an immense budget. Chinese sources indicate the project began during the height of the Cold War, when the risk of a preemptive nuclear strike from rival powers was seen as a very real threat. By dispersing missiles and launch systems underground, China ensured that its arsenal could survive and retaliate no matter what happened on the surface. This is a stark contrast to the U.S. approach, which built hundreds of individual missile silos during the Cold War, fixed sites that could be targeted. China's approach was different. It is a shadowy network that can move and hide, making any attack against it uncertain. Estimates of what lies within the underground Great Wall vary wildly. Official figures place China's nuclear arsenal at around 500 warheads. However, some U.S. defense analysts contend that the number may be far higher, with the bulk of those weapons hidden deep within this bunker network. If true, China could possess far greater strategic power than it publicly acknowledges. The tunnel system allows weapons to be concealed, moved, and potentially launched from unpredictable locations, making them virtually impossible to track. First-hand accounts from defectors and leaked state documents describe reinforced bunkers, rail tunnels large enough to carry mobile launch systems, and maintenance facilities buried hundreds of feet underground. The tunnels are said to connect entire provinces, stretching through mountains and linking crucial bases. The secrecy surrounding the underground Great Wall has fueled debate for decades. In 2009, a brief segment on Chinese state television showed quick flashes of missile transporters moving through underground corridors, confirming what analysts had long suspected. Beyond that, almost nothing is disclosed. Western researchers have attempted to map the system through satellite data, but only fragments are known. The true scale and capacity remain hidden. The comparisons are striking. Derinkuyu in Turkey sheltered 20,000 people underground. The Mammoth Cave system winds for hundreds of miles through Kentucky limestone, but the underground Great Wall surpasses both in length and purpose. It is not a relic of survival or a natural wonder. It is a modern fortress, carved in silence, designed to conceal the weapons that could end life on the surface. This continuity is remarkable. From ancient shelters to modern bunkers, the Subterranean remains the ultimate protector. Thousands of years ago, humans sealed themselves away to survive floods or invasions. Today, governments seal away their most dangerous weapons. The instinct is the same. When the risks are highest, power is hidden beneath. Most of what lies inside the underground Great Wall will likely never be seen by the public. The entrances are sealed, the maps are classified, and the system is constantly being expanded. What is known is enough to prove that even in the age of satellites and constant surveillance, the most critical infrastructure can vanish from view if it is built beneath the surface. Secrecy and power, both buried. We have touched this curtain of mystery, but remember, this is only the beginning of our exploration. If China's underground Great Wall is a statement of survivability and retaliation, the mystery that awaits us in Russia carries a different shade, a pledge of government continuity in a worst-case scenario. In Russia's Ural Mountains, a single peak stands out with a reputation unlike any other. It is Mount Yamantau. From the outside, it appears unremarkable. A rugged, forested range dotted with small towns and villages. But intelligence agencies, satellite imagery, and scattered reports tell a very different story. They describe the mountain as sealed, tunneled through, and guarded with extraordinary secrecy. For decades, Mount Yamantau has sat at the center of one of the greatest mysteries of the Cold War and beyond. The story first gained wide attention in the 1990s, as the Soviet Union collapsed and Russia transitioned to a new identity. U.S. satellites had tracked unusual activity in the region for years. They showed massive excavation projects around the mountain, the construction of railway lines and highways leading directly into the interior, and entire towns springing up to houseworkers. The effort was colossal, rivaling the largest military-industrial projects of the Cold War. Yet Russia never explained what it was building. When questioned, Russian officials gave contradictory answers. At times, they claimed the site was merely a mining operation. In other statements, it was described as a food storage facility, or even a repository for Russian treasure. None of these explanations matched the scale of the project. A warehouse does not require an entire railway line to be tunneled into the heart of a mountain. A food depot does not explain thousands of workers carving out chambers large enough to be seen from space. The answers only deepened the mystery. American analysts suspected something far more serious, a vast underground complex built for nuclear war. During the Cold War, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union developed networks of bunkers and command posts designed to survive a first strike. But Yamantau appeared to go beyond that. The scale suggested it was not just a bunker for leaders, but a full-fledged subterranean city capable of housing tens of thousands of people. Reports claimed it could hold weapons, house command centers, and provide refuge for Russia's leadership and military in the event of a global catastrophe. What makes Yamantau particularly unsettling is the timing. Construction continued throughout the 1990s, even as Russia was experiencing economic collapse. The government claimed it could not pay wages or provide basic services. Yet, it poured immense resources into burrowing deeper into the mountain. Why was Yamantau considered so critical that it survived when so many other projects were abandoned? First-hand accounts from people living near the site describe intense security and absolute secrecy. Entire towns are forbidden to outsiders, roads are blocked. Checkpoints guarded by armed sentries restrict movement, and locals are warned not to ask questions. Some workers were reportedly housed in nearby closed cities, their lives entirely tied to the project. To this day, the area remains sensitive, patrolled, and shielded from curious eyes. Satellite imagery has corroborated what locals hinted at. Massive spoil piles appeared on the surface. Evidence of the enormous tunneling taking place beneath rail lines were built, leading directly into the mountain, suggesting whatever lies inside required heavy equipment or supplies. Analysts compare the visible infrastructure to known nuclear command complexes, but on a far grander scale. The true size remains unknown. Some reports suggest Yamantau could encompass more than 400 square miles of underground space, enough to hold not just bunkers, but comprehensive industrial facilities. Other estimates suggest it could support a population of 60,000 people for months, perhaps years. If accurate, Yamantau is more than a command center. It is a hidden city buried deep in the Urals, waiting for a future most hope will never arrive. The secrecy continues to this day. Russia has never offered a consistent explanation, and Western intelligence has never been able to confirm what lies inside. To this day, Yamantau is considered one of Russia's most sensitive, top-secret projects, guarded as closely as nuclear launch codes. The silence has given way to speculation. Some argue it is a continuity of government facility designed to keep Russia's leadership alive through nuclear war. Others believe it houses nuclear weapons or production facilities hidden from international treaties. The most extreme theories suggest it may house research laboratories or depots for doomsday devices. Whatever the truth, the unanswered questions make Yamantau one of the most disturbing places on Earth. Unlike ancient ruins, where the mystery lingers because time has erased the evidence, Yamantau is intentionally concealed, actively maintained, and fiercely protected. It shows that subterranean secrecy is not a thing of the past. It is alive today, guarded by one of the world's most powerful militaries. And even with all the satellite imagery, analyst reports, and local accounts, the strangest claims about Yamantau don't come from any government at all. They come from people who say they've been inside. We have traveled through the acknowledged underground fortresses of superpowers where secrecy is used to protect weapons of mass destruction, but some stories of the subterranean push the boundary further, stepping into the realm of urban myth, unverified reports, and secrets that may be beyond human control. Few stories illustrate this better than the case of Phil Schneider and the Dulce base. Phil Schneider was a geological engineer who claimed to have worked on deep underground military construction projects, often referred to as DUMBS, in the United States during the 1970s. According to his testimony, he was not just involved in tunnel building. He claimed to have witnessed and survived one of the most bizarre and terrifying encounters ever reported beneath the earth. In a series of public talks in the mid-1990s, Schneider described a hidden facility near Dulce, New Mexico. He said the base was built as part of an extensive network of DUMBS, linked by high-speed tunnels running beneath the country. These facilities, he claimed, were not just bunkers or storage depots. They were research centers where genetic experiments and top-secret projects were conducted far from public view. But Schneider's most sensational claim was that the Dulce base was not solely controlled by humans. He recounted that while excavating a section of the tunnels, workers broke into an already occupied cavern, and inside were non-human entities. According to him, this accidental intrusion sparked a gun battle. Schneider claimed he was injured by a weapon unlike anything known on the surface. An explosion burned a portion of his chest and hand. Dozens of soldiers and workers, he said, were killed in the incident. From that moment on, the Dulce base was allegedly operated as a joint facility, with both humans and non-human entities sharing the subterranean space. The details are sensational. Laboratories where human and animal DNA was combined in experiments, vats filled with strange biomatter, and levels of the base restricted by clearance. The deeper you went, the more grotesque the research became. Schneider painted a picture of an underworld where science crossed territory that mainstream institutions would never acknowledge. Of course, none of these claims have ever been verified. No hard evidence has emerged proving the Dulce base exists. No documentation has surfaced confirming Schneider's story. To this day, official sources dismiss his testimony as fabrication. And yet, what keeps this story alive is how it fits into the broader pattern we have seen. Governments and militaries clearly place a premium on subterranean secrecy, from China's thousands of miles of nuclear tunnels to Russia's Mount Yamantau. Massive projects exist about which the public knows virtually nothing. If those things are admitted, how much else could remain unacknowledged? Even among locals in Dulce, stories have circulated for years about anomalous activity. Residents have spoken of strange lights in the sky, unexplained sounds deep in the mesa, and low-flying military-style helicopters with no insignia. Combined with Schneider's claims, the myth of the Dulce base has become one of the longest-standing underground conspiracy narratives in the United States. Critics point out that Schneider's accounts were sometimes contradictory, and he provided no physical proof that his injuries were caused by an unknown weapon. But supporters argue he paid the ultimate price for speaking out. In 1996, Schneider was found dead in his apartment under circumstances his family and followers described as suspicious. Officially, his death was ruled a suicide. For those who believe his story, it was an act of silencing. What makes the Dulce base story important is not whether every detail is true, but what it represents. Even if it is only a myth, it reflects the same themes found throughout history. Subterranean secrecy, hidden chambers sealed from the public eye, and projects carried out in silence. While the world above carries on unaware, Dulce has become a symbol of the underworld itself. a place where the most dangerous or extraordinary truths are buried. We have traveled through the acknowledged underground fortresses of superpowers, where secrecy is used to protect weapons of mass destruction. But some stories of the subterranean push the boundary further, stepping into the realm of urban myth, unverified reports, and secrets that may be beyond human control. Few stories illustrate this better than the case of Phil Schneider and the Dulce Base. Phil Schneider was a geological engineer who claimed to have worked on deep underground military construction projects, often referred to as DUMBS, in the United States during the 1970s. According to his testimony, he was not just involved in tunnel building. He claimed to have witnessed and survived one of the most bizarre and terrifying encounters ever reported beneath the earth. In a series of public talks in the mid-1990s, Schneider described a hidden facility near Dulce, New Mexico. He said the base was built as part of an extensive network of DUMBS, linked by high-speed tunnels running beneath the country. These facilities, he claimed, were not just bunkers or storage depots. They were research centers where genetic experiments and top-secret projects were conducted far from public view. But Schneider's most sensational claim was that the Dulce base was not solely controlled by humans. He recounted that while excavating a section of the tunnels, workers broke into an already occupied cavern, and inside were non-human entities. According to him, this accidental intrusion sparked a gun battle. Schneider claimed he was injured by a weapon unlike anything known on the surface. An explosion burned a portion of his chest and hand. Dozens of soldiers and workers, he said, were killed in the incident. From that moment on, the Dulce base was allegedly operated as a joint facility, with both humans and non-human entities sharing the subterranean space. The details are sensational. Laboratories where human and animal DNA was combined in experiments, vats filled with strange biomatter, and levels of the base restricted by clearance. The deeper you went, the more grotesque the research became. Schneider painted a picture of an underworld where science crossed territory that mainstream institutions would never acknowledge. Of course, none of these claims have ever been verified. No hard evidence has emerged proving the Dulce base exists. No documentation has surfaced confirming Schneider's story. To this day, official sources dismiss his testimony as fabrication. And yet, what keeps this story alive is how it fits into the broader pattern we have seen. Governments and militaries clearly place a premium on subterranean secrecy, from China's thousands of miles of nuclear tunnels to Russia's Mount Yamantau. Huge projects exist about which the public knows virtually nothing. If those things are admitted, how much else could remain unacknowledged? Even among locals in Dulce, stories have circulated for years about anomalous activity. Residents have spoken of strange lights in the sky, unexplained sounds deep in the mesa, and low-flying military-style helicopters with no insignia. Combined with Schneider's claims, the myth of the Dulce base has become one of the longest-standing underground conspiracy narratives in the United States. Critics point out that Schneider's accounts were sometimes contradictory, and he provided no physical proof that his injuries were caused by an unknown weapon. But supporters argue he paid the ultimate price for speaking out. In 1996, Schneider was found dead in his apartment under circumstances his family and followers described as suspicious. Officially, his death was ruled a suicide. For those who believe his story, it was an act of silencing. What makes the Dulce base story important is not whether every detail is true, but what it represents. Even if it is only a myth, it reflects the same themes found throughout history: subterranean secrecy, hidden chambers sealed from the public eye, and projects carried out in silence. While the world above carries on unaware, Dulce has become a symbol of the underworld itself, a place where the most dangerous or extraordinary truths are buried. From Derinkuyu to Teotihuacan, from Chavin to Yamantau, every location we explore points to the same conclusion. The Earth has always been where humanity hides what it cannot explain, what it cannot control, or what it wishes to keep safe from view. We have tracked tunnels from Turkey to Peru, from China to the United States, and through myths that span cultures across the globe. Some were carved to protect entire populations, others were built for worship, and still others were sealed for military power. A few are publicly acknowledged, but many remain classified, restricted, or unexplored. They all point to one truth. The subterranean is where humanity stores what matters most. In antiquity, that was survival and ritual. Today, it is weapons, bunkers, and perhaps, if Schneider's story holds even a kernel of truth, experiments we are not meant to know about. The secrecy we have seen is systemic. It is driven by fear. Fear of nuclear war, fear of societal collapse, and perhaps fear of things outside our comprehension. When superpowers build the underground Great Wall, they are performing an act of ultimate trust in the rock and soil. They are saying that no matter what chaos unfolds on the surface, the power to shape the future will be held safe beneath. The fact that Yamantau continued construction during Russia's economic collapse shows a clear prioritization. Maintaining power was more important than maintaining daily life. And then there are the myths like the Dulce base, which raise questions about the limits of secrecy. We know that governments hide things. We see that they build colossal facilities. The question is, how much do they hide? When a project is pushed hundreds of feet underground and guarded by elite forces, is there any limit to what can be accomplished in that darkness? Most of what lies in these underground networks will never be seen by the public. The entrances are sealed, the maps are classified, and the systems are constantly being expanded. But we know enough to see that, even in the age of satellites and constant surveillance, the most critical infrastructure can vanish from view if it is built beneath the surface. And this is the thing to ponder as you drift off to sleep. While you are on the surface, peaceful in your home, a parallel world is operating, a world of buried cities, secret arsenals, and hidden laboratories. Those cities, those arsenals, those secrets, and perhaps those things we are not meant to know, all buried in the dark, waiting to be found. Now it's time for you. Do you think stories like the Dulce base are merely myths? Or do they reflect realities that governments will never admit? And if they are true, how much of our history, or even our present, is still hidden beneath our feet? Our planet, a splendid blue sphere floating in endless night, still holds mysteries that challenge all the knowledge we've accumulated. There are regions, names etched into humanity's mind as an unsolved question. The Zone of Silence, the Gate of the Gods, and most famous, the Bermuda Triangle. Travelers, scientists, and the curious relentlessly flock to these places. They arrive with a belief that has persisted for centuries. Could it be that in the past, entities beyond space and time, ancient aliens, once visited us? If that hypothesis were true, then what? Did these mysterious visitors contribute to the creation of our world today? And could delving into their story be the key to deciphering the hidden secrets behind the most chilling and enigmatic locations on this earth? Let us embark on a search for evidence, starting where fear and confusion have reigned for decades, the Bermuda Triangle. This vast sea area, more than 500,000 square miles, lying between Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda, has become a terrifying obsession for scientists, seasoned sailors, and even military investigators. Here, in the deep blue Atlantic, a series of mysterious disappearances of planes and ships have occurred. Strange lights, unexplainable physical phenomena, all converge on this deadly corner. Sifting through historical files, we repeatedly encounter stories of the ghost ship. These aren't folklore, but incidents recorded in official transcripts, with witnesses, ships found completely empty. No sign of battle or accident, only the crew vanishing inexplicably. The strangest thing is that these incidents often happen in perfect weather conditions. No storms, no tsunamis, no warnings on radar or satellite. To many, this is not supernatural, but simply something beyond the current limits of human understanding. The mystery lies in: what is the true nature of the Bermuda Triangle? Maritime history shows that anomalies appeared here long before we truly paid attention to them. Let's travel back to the 15th century with the great navigator Christopher Columbus, considered a reputable pilot, the discoverer of America. His navigation log, regarded as a model of accuracy, records his journey through this sea area in detail. In the area now called the Bermuda Triangle, Columbus noted the unusual malfunction of the compass. The following night, he and his crew witnessed a giant fireball plunging straight into the ocean. They saw strange lights and sudden weather changes with their own eyes. This proves that the story of Bermuda is not a recent myth. Continuing the journey through time, 450 years after Columbus, on December 5, 1945, the U.S. military faced a terrifying event that would forever go down in aviation history: Flight 19. 5 U.S. Navy TBM Avenger torpedo bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale for a routine training mission. Initially, everything went according to plan: clear skies, ideal weather. However, on their return journey, the flight leader became bewildered. The compass had failed. Instead of flying southwest towards the Florida base, they flew deeper into the Atlantic as they neared the triangle. Their communication signal weakened, then cut out completely. All 5 planes vanished without a trace. The last recorded message from a panicked pilot: "Everything looks strange. Even the ocean below looks like we are entering a white water area. We are completely lost." What's even more terrifying, a rescue plane sent to search also suddenly disappeared. 6 aircraft, piloted by some of the world's most seasoned naval aviators, dissolved as if they had flown to Mars, according to a U.S. Navy report. This incident occurred in the modern era, when we had radar, radio, and advanced navigation techniques. The sudden disappearance, without any warning or debris, sowed a deep fear. In 1970, the incident repeated itself incredibly. A large American passenger plane unexpectedly lost communication and vanished from radar screens within 10 minutes. Then, it reappeared and landed safely. Amazingly, all the clocks on the plane were running 10 minutes slow. These events have reinforced the belief in something beyond imagination: the existence of a time-space portal right in the Bermuda Triangle. Unofficial estimates suggest that at least 50 ships and 20 aircraft, along with about 1,000 people, have vanished without a trace here. Where did they all go? It seems they were pulled from our reality and entered another dimension. Fortunately, however, a few people have survived. Among them is the American pilot Bruce Jernan, who recounted the story of the electronic fog in 1970. Jernan and his father were flying from the Bahamas to Florida. As they neared the Bermuda area, he saw a cloud forming a strange tunnel or tube. He described, "When I penetrated inside, an incredible thing happened. These cloud streams immediately formed spirals. The scene was like looking into the rifling grooves of a gun barrel. The spirals turned counterclockwise, and there were some continuous electrical sparks flashing." He called it the electronic fog. Jernan's equipment malfunctioned. The compass spun wildly. When he exited the tunnel, he contacted Miami Air Traffic Control, but they couldn't find his plane on radar. About 3 minutes later, they pinpointed his location. What stunned Jernan the most was, he felt he had only flown for about 33 minutes, but the air traffic control data confirmed his flight time was 1 hour and 3 minutes, a 30-minute discrepancy. The clock on his plane had also slowed by exactly 30 minutes. Could a real space-time distortion have occurred? The time discrepancy experienced by pilot Bruce Jernan, the feeling of 33 minutes passing when it was actually 1 hour and 3 minutes, forces us to move away from conventional supernatural explanations and turn to the most advanced physics theories. In modern physics, there is a theory that allows such phenomena to occur: Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity, dubbed the father of modern physics. According to Einstein, space and time are not two separate entities, but a unified whole called space-time. And he proved that we can bend space-time by using a sufficiently large amount of matter or energy. Objects with mass distort the space-time lattice, and it is this warping that creates the force of gravity. Einstein argued that there is no pull at all. The nature of gravity is simply a consequence of geometric effect. If a quantity of matter or energy is infinitely large, space-time can be bent to the point of creating a bottom that allows instantaneous movement to another place. At these points where space-time anomalies occur, such as what Jernan described, the phenomenon of time dilation will happen. Imagine two different people. The first enters the anomalous area, the second stands outside observing. At this moment, the first person's clock will run slower than the observer's clock. In this way, pilot Jernan, after the incident, felt he had only traveled for 33 minutes, while to those outside, he had been gone for over an hour. This is entirely consistent with the models of relativity. However, to achieve such space-time anomalies, the prerequisite is to have an infinitely large source of energy or matter. This is where the ancient aliens hypothesis becomes fascinating. It is highly likely that their spacecraft somehow tapped into the massive energy source coming from special locations like the Bermuda Triangle. This energy source allows them to create a gravitational field strong enough to bend space-time, or achieve speeds faster than light, and thereby travel to where they wish. When a large energy burst occurs in a wide area of space, the energy often escapes by spinning in a circular motion. This swirling phenomenon is formed due to the conservation of momentum of the matter and energy system, an effect called the Coriolis effect. Just as vortices form in a storm, the center of the circular swirls will concentrate an immense source of energy, capable of sucking matter from around it. Similarly, when energy is emitted, it also forms a vortex. This means that a material vortex and a portal in space can have a similar structure. Einstein's theory of relativity has proven that such portals can absolutely exist. They are called wormholes. Simply put, a wormhole is a tunnel connecting two different regions of space-time. Matter can travel from one region to the other by going through these wormholes. If this structure is created, it would be a shortcut for traveling to a very distant place in the universe. Scientists believe that wormholes exist in many places in the universe, and it is highly likely that the Bermuda Triangle is one of the space-time gateways that aliens have used. The reports of UFO appearances, the sudden disappearance of planes and ships without a trace, the puzzling physical phenomena, all lead many to believe that Bermuda is a two-way teleporter. The missing people were simply accidentally sucked in by these portals and transported to the other end of the universe, where we still cannot know. Theorists of ancient astronauts go even further. They claim that if aliens used these gates to come to Earth, then perhaps one day, we too can use this shortcut to visit them. If such a gate exists beneath the waters of the Bermuda Triangle, are there similar gates on land? The answer, surprisingly, is yes. Leaving aside the mysterious stories of the notorious sea area for a moment, let us travel to the southern United States. About 400 miles south of El Paso, Texas, in northern Mexico, There exists an area local residents call by a chilling name, the Zone of Silence, La Zona del Silencio. This is a strange land where the laws of physics seem to be bent. No modern device can operate here. You bring the latest mobile phone or a radio transmitter, all of them inexplicably stop working the moment you step into the Zone of Silence. More interestingly, if you bring a compass, its needle will spin continuously as if motorized. This is not only bizarre, but also leaves many scientists struggling for an explanation. We are standing on a barren desert region in northern Mexico, a place nicknamed the Zone of Silence, La Zona del Silencio. This is a location that, according to local accounts, has become a magnet for strangeness. Radio, phones, and wireless communication devices are inexplicably disconnected. Even television signals cannot penetrate the mysterious veil covering this area. The compass, humanity's most reliable navigation tool, spins wildly here, rendered completely useless. It seems as if an invisible force field has intervened, altering the entire electromagnetic field around it. The strangeness does not stop at electromagnetic phenomena. The Zone of Silence is home to rare plant and animal species, not found anywhere else in the desert. This anomalous biodiversity further adds to the scientists' confusion. So what created an anomalous region like the Zone of Silence? The first answer scientists offered is related to catastrophic events in the past. Geologists have discovered that historically this area has endured dense meteor showers. One of the most clearly recorded events occurred in 1970, when a U.S. Air Force Athena test missile, which should have fallen in the White Sands Desert of New Mexico, veered off course and crashed right into this Zone of Silence. This was not a random coincidence. The Athena incident drew the attention of military experts and scientists. When they investigated, they discovered that beneath the desert soil was a large quantity of meteorite fragments, buried over millions of years. These meteorites often contain a large amount of iron ore and other magnetic minerals. Some researchers suggest that this unusual concentration of magnetic minerals created an extremely strong localized electromagnetic field, enough to disrupt all radio waves and compasses in the area. However, there is another hypothesis, less mainstream but more compelling, that has attracted proponents of the ancient astronaut theory. They suggest that these meteorite incidents are not the cause, but merely the consequence of another physical phenomenon. Like the Bermuda Triangle, the Zone of Silence is also considered an energy portal or an energy convergence point. According to this hypothesis, the colossal magnetic energy source beneath the ground does not come from natural meteorites, but is the residue of ancient alien technology. Consider this. If aliens needed a massive amount of energy to create a wormhole and travel through spacetime, they would need a generator or refueling station at key locations on Earth. The hypothesis suggests that the special geological structure of the Zone of Silence may have been used by ancient aliens to create a giant electromagnetic generator. The crystals and iron ore beneath the ground may have been activated or used as a resonator to create the energy field necessary for teleportation. When the U.S. Air Force Athena missile was pulled down, or when pilots got lost in Bermuda, was it because they accidentally entered the range of these energy fields? Energy tracks left behind by alien beings? Adherents of this theory believe that past meteorite incidents are evidence of alien spacecraft landings or unsuccessful crashes. When a spacecraft malfunctions and crashes, it would release a large amount of alien matter, including metals and minerals not common on Earth, leaving a large residual magnetic field. In summary, both the Bermuda Triangle and the Zone of Silence share a common characteristic: the existence of anomalous energy fields that disrupt navigation and communication equipment. If the Bermuda Triangle is a wormhole portal, the Zone of Silence could be a power station or a stargate on land. Both suggest that a technology far exceeding humanity's current level was once deployed on our planet. From deep seas to arid deserts, the mysteries continue. But there is another place on Earth, a location tied to mysticism and legends of gods descending from the sky, the Gate of the Gods. Let us travel south to the majestic Andes Mountains of Peru. Here, hidden in the rock crevices, is a site called Puerta de Hayu Marca, or in Spanish, the Gate of the Gods. This is a gigantic sandstone outcrop, about 23 feet high and 23 feet wide, carved into an archway-like structure. This door is carved deep into the mountain rock but has no pathways leading inside. It is carved so perfectly that it makes one think it was not created by human hands. According to the legends of the ancient Inca, this gate was an interdimensional portal used by the gods, who were said to have come from the stars, to travel between Earth and their world. Our journey in search of space-time portals has led us to the sacred Andes Mountains, where mist embraces Puerta de Hayu Marca, or the Gate of the Gods. This is a colossal sandstone structure, 23 feet, 7 meters high and wide, perfectly carved into the mountainside. In the center, it has a T-shaped recess, forming an architecture exactly like a closed doorway or archway. The strange thing is, this door seems to lead nowhere. It is simply part of the solid rock mass. According to the legends of the Inca and local tribes, Puerta de Hayu Marca is not an ordinary temple. It is a teleportation gate used by the gods, the visitors from the stars. To travel, legend says that only those with a golden key could open this gate and step into the land of the gods. The most famous story about this gate tells of an Inca priest named Aramu Muru. After the Spanish invasion, Aramu Muru escaped with a sacred golden disc from the Temple of the Sun. In Cusco tradition has it that this was the key. Aramu Muru went to Puerta de Hayu Marca. He and local shamans performed a ritual, placing the golden disc into the T-shaped recess on the rock mass. Immediately, the colossal gate emitted a brilliant light and became transparent. The priest stepped through the gate and vanished, never to return. These stories, though mythical, have a startling similarity to what we are exploring: instantaneous travel through an energy portal. Ancient astronaut researchers believe that this gate, as well as many other ancient megalithic stone structures around the world, are not just monuments. They are machines or technological devices designed to harness the Earth's natural energy. A newly emerging physical hypothesis suggests that the key to activating these gates is not just material, like the golden disc, but frequency and oscillation. Sound, or more accurately, low-frequency sound waves, infrasound, can create powerful vibrations in matter. Scientists have proven that at sufficiently low frequencies and high enough intensity, sound waves can cause resonance in crystalline materials like sandstone or quartz. Many believe that Aramu Muru's golden disc may not have been just a physical key, but a frequency emitter crafted to produce the precise sonic frequency needed to trigger resonance within the giant rock mass. When the perfect resonant frequency is achieved, the rock mass could be temporarily transformed, creating a localized energy field strong enough to bend space-time, opening a doorway similar to the wormhole we discussed. If this hypothesis is correct, it would explain why ancient civilizations like the Inca, Maya, and Egyptians tended to build megalithic architectures at locations with high geomagnetic energy. These structures could be energy amplifiers for ancient teleportation devices. From the time dilation in the Bermuda Triangle to the electromagnetic disturbances at the Zone of Silence, and finally to the stories of the gods' teleportation gate in Peru, all these mysteries seem to converge on a common point: the existence of superior technology capable of manipulating space-time and energy used by non-human entities. Could the stories of ancient aliens be the only way to account for phenomena that modern science still cannot grasp? Is it possible that these visitors from the stars not only came to visit, but also left behind technological traces in the form of energy gates, waiting for us to discover? Deep within the vast Chihuahua Desert, stretching across northern Mexico, there is a place where nature seems to have decided to suspend the laws of physics. A mysterious region where bizarrely shaped rocks are scattered like the remnants of a lost civilization, and where desert creatures carry inexplicable mutational marks on their bodies. This is the zone of silence, La Zona del Silencio. It is not the absolute silence of a typical wilderness, but a chaotic silence. A silence you feel through the resistance of your own body and technology. Imagine venturing into this place. A tingling, uncomfortable sensation begins to creep over your skin, a strange, unsettling feeling, as if your body is trying to synchronize with an invisible frequency that does not belong to this world. But the strange thing is, the moment you turn and step out of that invisible perimeter, these unpleasant sensations quickly vanish, leaving no trace or explanation. Human attention was first drawn to this land not by folklore, but by the malfunction of modern technology. This silent zone first spoke in the 1930s. That was when Francisco Sarabia, a Mexican pilot, was conducting a routine flight. Sarabia reported something utterly perplexing. As his plane flew over the area, his radio equipment suddenly became strangely paralyzed. There was only an incomprehensible static noise, a prolonged buzzing. But the moment the plane exited that invisible boundary, the equipment returned to normal operation, without any intervention or repair. However, it wasn't until 1964 that the land got its definitive name. Ingeniero Henry de Pena, an engineer for the oil company Pemex, was assigned to survey the Chihuahua Desert in preparation for installing an oil pipeline. The work required close coordination, but in one part of the desert, Pena's and his team's two-way radios only emitted meaningless white noise. Every attempt at communication was swallowed by something unexplainable. Unable to communicate, Pena named the location the Zone of Silence, and the name has stuck ever since. But what Pena later discovered was even more astonishing than the radio silence. After multiple returns, equipped with the most advanced measurement devices, Pena realized that the Zone of Silence was not a fixed location. It does not have a defined coordinate on the map. It appears to shift. Like an invisible spirit of the desert, the silent zone quietly moves from one area to another without following any predictable rule or cycle. A phenomenon that makes every effort to isolate and study it incredibly challenging. If the radio malfunctions were merely a coincidence, the incident that occurred on July 11, 1970, elevated the Zone of Silence beyond the scope of local stories, placing it under the scrutiny of the U.S. government and space scientists. That was the day the U.S. Air Force launched the Athena missile, one of the most modern missile series at the time. The missile took off from the military base in Green River, Utah, meticulously programmed to fly to a target about 700 miles away, at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. Yet, the unexplainable happened. During its trajectory, the Athena missile encountered a malfunction. For an unclear reason, it veered off target by hundreds of miles, flew straight past White Sands, and plunged directly into the Zone of Silence. This incident was not just a random orbital deviation. Data analysis of Athena's flight path showed a chilling detail. The trajectory looked as if the Zone of Silence had been the missile's final target all along. It was as if an invisible force, an energy hand, had pulled this modern metal object toward it. The Zone of Silence does not only attract U.S. Air Force missiles. A NASA spokesman once stated that this area is one of the strangest places that space scientists could name. They believe that it possesses a power, a special energy source, that acts like a cosmic magnet. This pull draws all foreign objects from above, and eventually, the attracted objects crash there, often breaking into small fragments after impact. NASA scientists provided physical evidence. An unusually large number of meteorites have crashed into the zone of silence. The peak was on February 8, 1969, even before the Athena missile incident. The Alenda meteorite, one of the largest meteorites ever to fall to Earth, slammed into this area at terrifying speed, creating a shock wave that traveled for many kilometers. These are not just anecdotes. Scientists have measured and recorded an abnormally high level of magnetism in this area. This proves, through science, modern machinery, and a series of rigorously verified experiments, that something mysterious and special exists deep within this Mexican desert. However, whether this magnetism is strong enough to pull large and high-energy objects like meteorites or even a cruise missile is another question. A question that awaits deeper research, new discoveries that might unlock the truth about the nature of this strange attraction. From the physical mysteries, a natural but equally fascinating question has been raised. Is there a connection to UFOs here? Indeed, there have been numerous reports of the appearance of unidentified flying objects in the zone of silence. The most prominent and common events are often recounted by the residents of the nearby town of Ceballos. A typical account is from a late summer afternoon in 1976. Several villagers witnessed a giant flying object hovering over the town's outskirts. They described it as about 100 meters wide, with multicolored flashing lights. And notably, the object did nothing. It just hovered, silently, over the desert. After some time, it took off and flew straight into the zone of silence area. Ranchers in the area also frequently tell of incredible nighttime sky phenomena, mysterious glowing orbs, bright streaks of fire, or flying objects that seem to land vertically on the barren sand, often leaving mysterious burn marks on the ground. Perhaps the zone of silence is not just a magnet for matter from space, but also a convergence point that attracts visitors from places farther than space itself. It's not just the mysterious lights in the sky. The zone of silence is also the site of strange encounters with humanoid beings. Many ranchers in the area have reported unusual visitors. One person recounted that they were often visited by 3 humanoid creatures. They had long blonde hair, with 2 males and 1 female. Notably, they spoke fluent Spanish. These visitors always made a simple but unusual request. They only asked for water, not food or anything else. And when asked where they came from, they only replied, "We come from heaven." However, perhaps the most memorable and thrilling story is the experience of the couple, Ernesto and Josepina, on October 13th, 1975. They drove their pickup truck into the desert area to collect strangely shaped stones and unusual fossils. While searching, a sudden desert storm hit under the heavy rain. The dry sand quickly turned into a thick, sinking mudflat, and their vehicle became completely stuck. In their desperation to get out, the two saw 2 individuals approaching them through the rain. They were taller than imagination. Their figures seemed strange, but they showed no signs of danger. The 2 strange beings offered help, telling Ernesto and Josepina to get back in the truck so they could push from behind. Before the couple realized it, the car was free from the quagmire. The husband hastily jumped out of the car, running towards their 2 saviors to offer thanks. But the 2 beings were no longer there. There were no footprints or signs on the muddy ground proving they had ever stood there. They had vanished completely, leaving a huge question about the nature of these strangers. After a series of strange events, technological malfunctions, meteorite crashes, and incredible encounters, this land was given a meaningful nickname, the Bermuda Triangle of Mexico. And here is another unbelievable coincidence. The zone of silence and the famous Bermuda Triangle lie on the same latitude, between 28 and 26 degrees north. There is an even more special finding. The straight line connecting the Zone of Silence and the Bermuda Triangle passes right through the Egyptian pyramids. Is this just a random coincidence of geographical mapping? Or do the strange events happening in these places have some kind of connection, an invisible thread linking these anomalies on our planet? Perhaps it is a vortex of high energy. Perhaps it is a space-time portal leading to other areas of the universe. We cannot explain it for certain, but we can affirm that something unusual is happening in these regions. The hypothesis posed, could ancient travelers, or in modern terms, aliens, have detected the magnetic field differences in these areas? And did they utilize them for their own travel purposes? Let's think simply in terms of technology. If you were an alien coming to Earth thousands of years ago, you clearly wouldn't have any route or map. However, you could utilize the anomalous magnetic field points on Earth as fixed navigational markers. A similar navigation technique is still used by humans in seafaring. Radar stations are installed on the coast, broadcasting signals periodically. Ships use the received signals to determine the distance to the markers, thereby calculating their actual position. In the past, lighthouses were used for the same purpose. Could the places on Earth with unusually high magnetism, combined with legends of gods appearing in the sky, and more recently, the observation of UFOs, be evidence that some kind of portal exists? To find a more visual and vivid piece of evidence for this portal idea, we will travel 800 miles southeast of Lima, Peru, to the shores of the legendary Lake Titicaca. We are standing on the shores of the legendary Lake Titicaca, 800 miles southeast of Lima, Peru. This is a region that can surprise and bewilder any visitor. Here, there is a place known by the name the Gate of the Gods, or also called the Stargate. The first time you see it, you will have a perplexing feeling. It is a huge rock, carved deep into the cliff face, forming a large rectangle inside. That rectangle is a smaller doorway. It looks exactly like a gate, but it leads nowhere. It sits in the middle of nothingness, at an altitude of 14,000 feet above sea level. The indigenous people of Peru truly regard it as the Gate of the Gods. But why did they create a stone doorway that goes nowhere? And is there any way to go through it? According to Inca legend, their first high priest, named Amaru Muru, is said to have passed through this gate. He used a special object to activate the spatial doorway, a golden disc. The story goes that the golden disc Amaru Muru used was not an object crafted by humans, but an object that fell from the sky. The priest took this disc to the Gate of the Gods, inserting it into a special recessed area on the rock, and the door truly opened. Amaru Muru stepped through, and no one ever saw him return. He stepped through and vanished before everyone's eyes. Other priests witnessed the entire event. They recorded and passed down this story through generations until today. Interestingly, modern archaeologists have examined the Gate of the Gods. They discovered a small hole, a round indentation located right in the center of the doorway. Many speculate that this is where the priest long ago placed the golden disc. According to the local shaman's traditions, this gate has been sealed, but one day it will be opened. They believe the Creator God will return to Earth on the Sunship, and a new era will begin. This entire legendary story truly resembles a science fiction scenario. A mystical device falls from the sky, said to be made of gold. Anyone using that device can activate a door on the rock, and through it, they will be able to contact the gods, or the gods will come to them. If we do not consider this story to be entirely fabricated and fantastical, but consider that something truly happened in the past at this sacred location, the meaning is completely different. Perhaps the sunship object had some kind of special extraterrestrial connection. or it was an alien technological device used to travel between different planets and galaxy systems, that would mean these special mechanisms could take a person to another dimension or simply help the user travel from Earth to somewhere else in the universe through the gate to the stars. The ancients were not people with so much free time that they spent so much effort fabricating these stories and then devoutly worshiping them for thousands of years. It is more acceptable that they were trying to recount a true story that unfolded before their eyes, through their limited perspective and understanding. According to local legends, the shamans are considered brothers of the space people who came from other worlds. So, could these brothers, these ancient travelers, have come here through the gate of the gods? Did they come from a different constellation, from another planet? In the language of the indigenous people, there is a word called chakana. That is the name of several constellations like the Southern Cross. The elders often say that this gate is the bridge leading to those constellations, which are considered the home of the Space Brothers. Ancient astronaut theorists believe that the gate of the gods is one end of a wormhole, a type of portal to lead to another part of the universe or another space. This idea is strongly supported by Einstein's theory of relativity, although it remains a hypothesis. What if one end of the gate exists here, at the gate of the gods? Could that be the reason to view Peru as an epicenter of UFO and extraterrestrial activity? Some witnesses even affirm that they have seen UFOs flying out of Lake Titicaca. They describe large blue balls or glowing disc-shaped objects. Sometimes they even see aliens, described with tall, pale figures, completely unlike the dark-skinned indigenous people. The wormhole hypothesis is one way to interpret this. But another theory about how aliens travel in the vast universe is the concept of teleportation. It is an object disappearing from one place and suddenly appearing in another. This seems like something only in science fiction, but at the MIT Research Institute, quantum scientists have influenced subatomic particles, making them disappear at one place and then reappear somewhere else. The nature of this method is to use the phenomenon of quantum entanglement, where the quantum states of two or more objects are closely linked, no matter how great the distance separating them. So, could the strange magnetic field phenomena in Mexico's zone of silence, along with the legends of the Gate of the Gods in Peru, be evidence of a technology far beyond our current understanding? Could our Earth hold interstellar markers, silent gates waiting to be activated? In this vast universe, where our knowledge is just a small spark, there are physical mysteries that go beyond what the naked eye can see. Take a deep breath, relax your mind, and join us as we delve into the realm of things that seem to only exist in science fiction: teleportation and cosmic energy. We begin with a concept that puzzled even Albert Einstein, a phenomenon he called spooky action at a distance. That is quantum entanglement. Imagine you have two subatomic particles linked by an invisible, powerful, and instantaneous thread. Even if these two particles are separated and placed thousands of light years apart, if the state of one particle changes, the state of the other will change instantly. No delay, no need for any physical force. This is the super-fast bridge of the universe. It is this spookiness that opened the door to quantum teleportation. It's not the movement of matter as we think of it, but the transmission of one particle's state to another, allowing the original state to be perfectly recreated at the destination, a physical miracle that humans have successfully performed at the subatomic level. But the bigger question is, can we do this with larger objects? A cup? A person? Scientists believe it is entirely possible. The object would be separated into quantum particles, measured and converted into data. Then, this data, the information about the object's state, would be transmitted instantaneously thanks to quantum entanglement. At the destination, the original object is recreated from local matter and the information transmitted. No need for wormholes or the speed of light. Instantaneous movement of objects from one place to another is theoretically feasible. This leads us to a profound reflection. If modern humanity, with just over 200 years of remarkable scientific and technological development, has reached this theoretical threshold, what would happen if a civilization had existed for millions, even billions of years? What level of technology would they have achieved? The remaining issue, the key to all groundbreaking progress, is energy. The colossal amount of energy needed to perform such teleportation processes or build great structures. In our search for these special energy sources, we will leave the modern laboratories and delve into mysterious places on Earth, where history and legend merge with invisible energy flows. We have talked about the technological secrets behind the Gate of the Gods, Puerta de Hayumarca, rumored to be an ancient teleportation portal. But even if that stone gate is now closed, the energy flow that created it is said to still circulate around the area. Now, we will head towards another area, a plateau in the mountains of Peru, about 850 miles north of the Gate of the Gods. That is the Marcahuasi Plateau. Imagine a plateau about 2 miles long, perched precariously in the air. Marcahuasi is not just a geographical landmark, it is a land said to have very high electromagnetic energy. For centuries, the Inca people regarded Marcahuasi as a sacred, powerful place. Those who have set foot here describe strange sensations, a state of mental euphoria, special energy flows affecting the body and mind. Locals call it the place of the sorcerers and the gods, treating it with absolute reverence and piety. These phenomena have attracted scientists and researchers. The first question they asked was, could the Marcahuasi Plateau have been intentionally designed to create such special energy effects? Geologists, after careful study, concluded Marcahuasi was formed naturally after millions of years of erosion by wind and rain. However, is Marcahuasi really just eroded rocks? Some believe Marcahuasi is a giant carved rock garden created by some ancient civilization. They see not just ordinary rocks, but an intentional stone monument. The shapes carved on the cliff faces are said to depict animals and humans. The stunning thing is, among the carvings, images of people and animals not native to South America are found. They identified images resembling an African Egyptian queen, a fertility goddess, Taweret, a camel, and many other international figures. How could images depicting subjects from all over the world accidentally converge at a single remote plateau in Peru? This is where fact and legend intertwine. If these shapes are not natural formations, if they were created by human hands with some deliberate purpose, then who created them? That is the question we will continue to explore. In 1952, a researcher named Dr. Daniel Russo set out to decipher the mystery of the Marcahuasi stones. He observed the cliff faces on this plateau from afar and then undertook an expedition up the mountains above Lima. When he arrived, he was overwhelmed. In that small area, he found hundreds of rocks that seemed to have been carved by some hand. Observers believe these cliff faces detail animals and humans. And the unique thing, as we mentioned, is the presence of figures not native to South America, the Egyptian African queen, the fertility god Taweret in the form of an upright hippopotamus or a camel. These images are like a collection of heritage from all over the world, accidentally gathered at a remote plateau. If these shapes are not the work of natural erosion, but intentional human sculptures, then who could have created them? And why? Local legends of the indigenous people recount an ancient story that this plateau was once inhabited by giant gods from time immemorial. According to the accounts, these gigantic sculptures are the marks created by the gods themselves. When the Spanish chroniclers arrived in Peru and investigated the ancient religions, they discovered a clue. The locals told the story of a god named Viracocha, the creator of all things. God Viracocha is traditionally said to have come to the land of the ancient Peruvians in the guise of a simple man. After inspecting his kingdom, he made several demands. Some tribes resisted these demands, refusing to comply with the god's will. The consequence was the god's wrath. Legend says that Viracocha became angry and turned those rebellious people into stone. Could the mysterious carvings and strange architecture at Marcahuasi be the remaining physical evidence of this legend? Could they be the remnants of a civilization that was turned into stone after a catastrophic event? This adds to the big question that scholars have tried to decipher for years. Was it only Atlantis, or were there other civilizations that were mysteriously wiped out in human history? Even the name Marcahuasi might offer us a clue. Originating before the Inca Empire, many scholars studying Marcahuasi agree that in the local language, the word means two-story house. This seems to allude to the complexity and strange architecture of the stone houses here. Is it possible that cross-oceanic cultural exchange existed between distant peoples and civilizations thousands of years ago, an exchange that was never recorded in official history? Dr. Daniel Russo believed that a civilization once existed in the Marcahuasi area that he called the Masha civilization. It was these people who created the famous rock sculptures on the plateau. According to Russo, Peru was not their only home. The Masha people seemed to possess an advanced civilization, capable of traveling all over the world. From this idea, Russo spent a lot of time searching for clues to prove the existence of this advanced Masha civilization. He believed that these communities were wiped out by a great flood described in the Bible, an apocalyptic event that reshaped human history. An interesting detail is that these carvings are found at an altitude of over 3,600 meters. That might imply that the Masha civilization began in the high mountains and gradually moved downwards, much like they were moving with the receding floodwaters of the Great Flood. Could it be that carving the shapes of the animals they collected was the first thing they did when their ship, or Ark of Salvation, landed on this plateau? You might ask yourself, why did they go to the trouble of creating such a great stone sculpture garden as soon as they set foot on a new land? Think about the feeling of being trapped on a desolate piece of land, surrounded by endless water, not knowing if you can survive to escape that natural prison. In that moment, you would want to leave a sign, a message for future generations. That, we were here, we survived. That could be the strongest motivation to create something great, something that endures through time. However, the geological age of the Marcahuasi rock defeats any speculation based solely on Russo's Masha hypothesis. The truth is, this rock sculpture garden may have been formed by an extremely ancient civilization. Perhaps those ancient gods truly came here very early, acting as the supervisors of this colossal work. They were trying to record something about their beliefs, about their civilization, to pass on to future generations. Perhaps they realized they could not last forever and wanted to leave a notice of their existence. And when we talk about mysterious high-energy regions, we cannot ignore another question. Could the special energy flows around Marcahuasi be what has attracted extraterrestrial visitors for thousands of years, similar to other mysterious locations around the world? Research on Marcahuasi doesn't stop at the rocks. Charles Berlitz, who first popularized knowledge of the plateau in his book Root in the Sky, put forth a bold hypothesis. Marcahuasi is a sacred forest where extraterrestrial beings meet and plan the future. Many UFO researchers believe that they still return to Marcahuasi today. The evidence is said to be the times this plateau has witnessed the appearance of unidentified flying objects. But the core question is, do special types of energy truly exist circulating around Markawasi and other mysterious places that we are only just beginning to understand? And if so, could these energy flows themselves have attracted visitors from space for thousands of years? These high-energy places might be the optimal locations for operating their equipment. Or perhaps they have the ability to help them achieve the appropriate frequency vibrations with the universe or with their home planet. Or more simply, they need these energy sources to perform some special task, such as opening multi-dimensional space portals. Researchers believe that these places contain unusual electric or geomagnetic currents. In some cases, different types of rock with special crystalline structures, or charged underground water flows, might act as energy transmitters or concentrators. Is there some reason why these space portals are said to appear at certain places on our planet? According to ancient astronaut theorists, the energy-filled, mysterious locations around the world are not randomly positioned. They are connected by a complex geometric pattern called the world grid. Imagine our planet covered by an invisible, mystical energy network. In certain places, these energy sources interfere with each other, creating a powerful vortex area, points where energy is concentrated, useful, and more significant compared to other regions. The world grid theory is a concept suggesting that all the sacred regions of the world are connected by mathematical and geometric equations, forming a perfect network. This is the absolute harmony between geometry, science, and mathematics that has long been recognized. In the East, the Chinese believed they could see and follow the long mak, dragon veins, the energy flows coming and going across the ground. Feng Shui, popular in China and Vietnam, uses knowledge of these dragon veins to seek areas of Wong Qi, prosperity, bringing health, mental comfort, and luck. These notions about the relationship between geometry, shape, and certain locations on Earth have persisted throughout the history of human philosophy. The Pythagorean school in ancient Greece is a typical example. The philosopher Plato once spoke of the Earth being like a 12-sided geometric solid, comparing it to a ball sewn together from different geometric forms. In Europe, long, ancient pathways exist, thousands of kilometers long, called ley lines, which have the same meaning as the long mak of the Asians. Ancient sites on the ley lines are linked together. An interesting aspect is that many towns located on these ley lines share a common root word in their names, star. Could it be that the people of the Stone Age did not randomly place sacred places on the same straight line? Surely someone must have ordered or instructed them to use the word star to name their village. And there is an extremely special ley line, an incredibly mysterious circle of the earth. This circle connects ancient architectures around the world in an order and forms a nearly perfect circle. It sounds unbelievable, but this mysterious circle passes through famous structures like Easter Island, the Egyptian pyramids, the Nazca Lines, Peru, Angkor Wat, the lost city of Petra, and many other key landmarks. The astonishing thing is that these landmarks are linked within a very small margin of error, not exceeding 1/10 of a degree of latitude, with the center of the circle placed in southeastern Alaska, USA. Another strange mystery is the frequency of UFO sightings along these world grid lines. Before his death in 1992, the French researcher Aimé Michel collected reports of alien appearances and mapped them out. He found that these locations were not random. They lay on straight lines and were related to certain latitudes. He suggested that there must be some scientific calculation behind the places reported to have UFO sightings. Ancient astronaut theorists believe that the concentration of energy and the appearance of UFOs are not a coincidence. They suggest that beings from other worlds visited our ancestors and informed them about the special energy at these locations. Then, they instructed the ancients on how to build the extraordinary structures, pyramids, Stonehenge, standing stones, to amplify these natural energies. Like acupuncture on the human body, we can also perform acupuncture on the Earth. By placing a structure or an object at a certain location, we can make this energy source more powerful. We have solved the problem. If there are aliens, how do they get to Earth? It could be through long journeys, or through instantaneous teleportation by utilizing these space-time portals at these energy points. What is particularly interesting is that we have developed modern physics theories that support those methods of movement, and on Earth, we also have countless special energy sources. If there is a theoretical basis, a location for construction, and an energy source, then realizing those things is perhaps only a matter of time and technological effort. In this universe, technological progress is only a matter of time. Our universe is about 14 billion years old. The solar system about 4.5 billion years old. And our human species? We have only existed on Earth for a few thousand years, all just a blink of an eye compared to the age of the universe. So how can we imagine how advanced the technology of a civilization would be if it was born a few billion years before us and still exists today? If you believe that we humans are unique in the universe, is that not a stubborn delusion? Our issue now only requires encounters, or even simply publicly disclosed encounters, to reaffirm the belief in the existence of other civilizations. Another question needs to be addressed. If extraterrestrial astronauts did visit our planet very early in history, where did they come from? If they truly mastered space-time travel technology, they could come from anywhere in the universe. Or more simply, they could exist very close to us, but have measures to conceal themselves from humanity's curious eyes. Amidst a sea of hypotheses about the origins of extraterrestrial visitors, there is an even bolder idea, a hypothesis that challenges all our historical knowledge. It is possible that the aliens we are referring to are actually us, the human species. Let's understand it more simply. This idea raises the question of whether our human species did not originate on Earth, but migrated here from somewhere else. And the signs, the energy locations, the sculptures we have been studying from the beginning, are simply explained as an older version of humanity taking care of the younger version they left, after ensuring that these younger people could multiply and develop on the new planet. The theory for this is that when future humans study the remaining artifacts and signs, they will come up with the exact same questions that we are studying today. And in seeking the answers to those questions, it will lead us to find our true past. A past that is perhaps far more complex and incredible than the knowledge we are taught. We may have to leave these questions for posterity, at least until future scientists can make newer discoveries in the field of theoretical physics, especially concerning space portals and wormholes. Only then can we accurately answer whether locations like Marcahuasi are truly interdimensional intersection points. In your opinion, have extraterrestrial visitors ever visited Earth, using the special electromagnetic regions in these mysterious places to create space-time portals and travel throughout the universe? And were these secrets of energy and teleportation known to ancient civilizations, but then mysteriously vanished in the flow of history? These are the questions you can take with you into your sleep. Let your mind continue to explore the infinite possibilities of the universe, where the line between science and myth becomes blurred. Wishing you a deep and peaceful sleep.